Okay, so now I'm going to start with the playbills that I have in alphabetical order. The first one, of course, as you can see, is A Tale of Two Cities. I saw this in New York, and I don't remember hardly anything about it. I don't even know why I saw it. I think it might have been because I thought it might have been something like On the Level of Les Miserables, but like I said, I don't remember much about it. And I don't think anybody ever knew it was in this. Then I saw Billy Elliot in London. And the only reason that I saw it was because, Elton John had done the music and he writes good songs. So I thought, okay, this ought to be some really catchy tunes. But I wasn't a fan of Billy Elliot, surprisingly. The story didn't really connect with me that much about this kid who works in, or whose parents work in like a steel mill or something like that. And he is interested in ballet, but they want nothing to do with it. And he sort of perseveres and becomes like a ballet dancer. And I remember thinking that it was going to go to Broadway and thinking, the story doesn't interest me. It's sort of, I think it was based on a movie that, is sort of near and dear to Brits' hearts, but I didn't think American audiences would connect with it, especially since I didn't think any of the songs were particularly memorable. But of course, I was totally wrong. It was a smash hit on Broadway and won quite a few Tony Awards, so it goes to show what I know. Then I saw Cinderella, and I was so excited to see this because I really liked Cinderella from. I remember when I was a kid, it used to be on television all the time, the musical with Leslie Ann Warren. And then I also liked the sort of remake, the one with Whoopi Goldberg and Whitney Houston and, other people. And then that one, of course, the guy who plays George from Seinfeld, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. He has this one song and dance number that's in one continuous take that's just fabulous. So I was really excited to see Cinderella, and oh my God, I was so disappointed. Carly Rae, was it Jaspin or something like that's her name? She played Cinderella, and Fran Drescher from the TV series The Nanny played the wicked stepmother. And of course, they couldn't leave well enough alone. They had to revamp the story, modernize it, and oh God, they made a mess of it. It was horrible, just horrible. For example, in this version, the prince, his parents were killed, and so it's like the Grand Vizier or somebody character is the one pulling the strings, and he sort of turned the sort of gotten power hungry and has sort of terrorized the country in which they live. And Cinderella and one of the wicked stepsisters are really good friends, and they're sharing secrets and confidences and such. And one of that wicked stepsister falls in love with this guy who's like a political agitator who comes to town and is trying to get the people to rebel against this Grand Vizier or whatever his title was. And it was just stupid. I hated it. Of course, you still have the good music and the songs, but they just ruined the story with rewriting it. Why they can't leave well enough alone, and if you're going to make changes, they better be changes that are for the better, and all the changes were for the worse. So I was terribly disappointed in Cinderella. Then I saw Curtains on Broadway with David Hyde Pierce. He won a Tony for this, and it's a show within a show. It's about the stage actors putting on a play or a musical or something, and then during the play or the musical or whatever, there's a murder, and so then a detective comes in, and so you got the real-time detective trying to solve the crime, and then the production going on at the same time. So that was a good show. I enjoyed that. Then in London, I saw Dorian Gray, which was sort of a modern take on the story of Dorian Gray, and I didn't care for this at all. It just bored me to tears. I was glad when it was over. Then I saw on Broadway Deuce with Angela Lansbury. She and the other woman play, I think, retired tennis players who are reminiscing about their careers or something like that. And the only reason I saw it is because I wanted to see Angela Lansbury, who's a theatrical legend. And so I'm glad that I saw it to see her. Then I saw Equus on Broadway. And I had a pretty good seat for this. I was like 7th or 8th row. And of course, there's full frontal nudity. And 2 or 3 rows ahead of me, there was an empty seat, so I moved up and had an even better seat for the show, so to speak. Daniel Radcliffe, there was an interesting story. Daniel Radcliffe was fine, and Kate Mulgrew, who plays Captain Janeway on the Star Trek Voyager series, was also in this. And then the other male lead, I can't remember if he played a doctor or whatever, he was sort of weird, and I can't remember whether his stomach or something, he had this weird like stomach or breasts or something where I found very distracting. And I couldn't stop staring at it or at them or whatever. It was just very weird. But it was, but the story itself is interesting. Then I saw Fiddler on the Roof, of course, on Broadway with, oh my God, what's his name? Harvey Fierstein. He was very good in that. I enjoyed Fiddler on the Roof. It's a classic musical that's been around forever. Then I saw Frost Nixon, which is a play with Frank Langella and Michael Sheen. I think Michael Sheen is the actor who plays Arrow in the Twilight movies. He played, I think, David Frost, and Frank Langella played Nixon. And I enjoyed that play. That was an enjoyable evening. Oh, then I saw, of course, Grey Gardens. I absolutely loved Grey Gardens. Christine Ebersole won a Tony for this, and deservedly so. She was fabulous. And the documentary that it's based upon is absolutely hilarious as well. Butter, get out of the way. Oh, now look what you've done, Butter. Are you happy now? Are you happy now, Butter? Oh, God, I've got to stop. So anyways, I really enjoyed Grey Gardens. The songs were very good. The woman who plays the older Edie was also very good. The audience loved it, and I loved it. And somebody had recorded it and put it on YouTube, and I downloaded all those videos and put the show together, and every once in a while I watch it because it's just fabulous. Then I saw Gypsy with Patti Lupone. This was, I think, a year before it was on Broadway. It was like a special 2 or 3 week run, and this was the first time I'd seen Patti Lupone, and of course I wanted to see her. And I was never crazy about the musical Gypsy. It just never grabbed me. I don't think the songs are very good. There's maybe 1 or 2 decent songs, and the rest of them are mediocre as far as I'm concerned. And the story never really interested me that much. But of course I wanted to see Patti Lupone. Oh, I saw this in July of 2007. Then, of course, I saw Hairspray twice. I saw it on Broadway with Harvey Fierstein and absolutely loved it. And then I saw it again at the Luxor in Las Vegas a couple of years later. And it just happened to be that when I saw it, Harvey Fierstein was reprising his role for like a 2 or 3 week run. So I got to see him in Hairspray twice. Then I saw Jesus Christ Superstar, it's April 10, 2007, at the Mullen Center in Amherst, at, I think, UMass. And it starred Ted Neely, who originated the role on Broadway like 30 or 35 years earlier, and he was still fabulous. I've always liked Jesus Christ Superstar, the story and the music. I think the songs are really very good, all of them. And even though he was like 35 years older when he played the role, I thought it played very well the older Ted Neely because of what Christ goes through in the story, that it really suited the character very well. Then I saw Jersey Boys, and there's sort of a funny story about this. It had been sold out, and so I went really early, hoping I could get like a standing room ticket, and I got lucky and somebody was selling a student ticket, so and for real cheap, like $20 or something. So I bought it, and it was the front row, and it was the very last seat on the right, which had a little bit of an obstructed view. And I was enjoying the show, but I had to pee like crazy. And because I was in the first row, I didn't want to get up because I've been very noticeable and have to walk all the way to the back and then walk back and sit down. That would have drawn a lot of attention to myself. So I thought, oh, I'll just wait till intermission. And of course, I was dying, absolutely dying. And then, so I had to open up the playbill and follow along with the songs, counting down until the intermission. And when the last song before intermission came on and it ended, oh my God, I jumped out of my seat and raced to the men's room and was the first person there. Well, needless to say, after I emptied my bladder, I enjoyed the second half so much more than the first half. Oops. Okay. Then, so I saw La Cage aux Folles in London with Philip Quast, I think. I don't know how you pronounce that. He played Javert in Les Miserables, and he was fabulous in that, and he was very good in this. And Harvey Fierstein, he wrote the book for this. And it's funny, the theater where this played was halfway between Trafalgar Square and Big Ben, and I walked to the theater, and as I was walking to it and I saw Big Ben and the London Eye just straight ahead, that was the first time I realized that a lot of the major attractions in London are within walking distance of each other. Prior to that, I always would take the tube to get from one to the other, but when I realized how close a lot of them were, I started, walking to them. Then I saw Lady Day in New York with, of course, the great Andrea MacDonald. She won a Tony for this, and it wasn't in a big theater. It was more, it was a smaller area, and it was set up like a nightclub, so with the tables and everything, so all the tables were very close to where she was performing, and she was close enough you could practically reach out and touch her. And she gave an excellent performance. Of course, she's got a great voice. And it was sad that, Billie Holiday, whom she portrayed, and a lot of other great artists have died from drug overdoses. And what a scourge that drugs are on the world, that we've lost so many talented people to drugs. It's very sad. I saw Legally Blonde in New York, and this was fun. I don't remember any of the songs, but the story's fun, and it followed the movie. And so if you like the movie, you'll certainly enjoy the musical, because it's just a lot of fun. Then I saw Lestat. I got the ticket very late in the evening, shortly before the performance started, so I got a really cheap nosebleed seat for like $15 or $20, but I could still see everything well. And I saw this because I liked the movie. I thought Tom Cruise was very good as Lestat. He did terrible things, but he made you like the character, even though I think Anne Rice was horrified when she first learned he was going to play Lestat, and I wonder if she ever changed her mind after having seen his performance. I couldn't stand Brad Pitt's character in the movie, Louis, who would just whine constantly. I wish he would have just died and gotten it over with. But Elton John wrote the music for this. That's another reason I wanted to see it. And I have to say that the music's totally forgettable. Only one, what I would say, standout song that the character of the little girl sings. Claudia, I think is her name. Something to the effect, "I Want More," or something like that, which was a very catchy tune. And I think they played around with the story a little bit, if I remember correctly. It didn't follow the movie exactly, but it was okay. It wasn't a bad show, but it didn't last very long on Broadway. Then I saw Mary Poppins in London. I saw it on New Year's Day. It had been sold out because it had just opened on in the West End, and so I got in line early because sometimes they save some tickets and they'll sell them. And then I have like 15 or 20 tickets. And so I stood in line, and because it was New Year's Day, there weren't a lot of people in line, so I was able to get a ticket. I was like, 15th row or something like that, 20 rows back. And I love the show. I mean, it's just like the movie of Mary Poppins, all those wonderful songs. And it's funny that in the first half they had some sort of a technical glitch where something broke down, and so they had to stop for like 5 minutes to fix it before they could carry on with the show. But it was just wonderful. I loved Mary Poppins. Then I saw Sister Act in London as well, and that was a good show. I enjoyed that. If you like the movie, then you'll like the musical as well. The thing that I remember most about this is one of the nuns was a spitter. So when she sang, she also spit, and the spit looked like projectiles under the lights. You could see them very clearly. So every time she sang and I saw those projectiles coming forth from her mouth, I couldn't help but laugh all the time. Then I saw Spam-A-Lot on Broadway, and I think David Hyde Pierce was in this too. And what was his name? Hank Lazaria also. And of course, if you like, Spam-A-Lot, then you'll like this because it was a great deal of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed Spam-A-Lot. Then I saw Spring Awakening. I saw this. I don't really know why I saw it. I think it was getting good reviews. That's why I saw it. And it starred, Lea Michele from Glee and another fellow from Glee. The guy with curly hair that was at a different school and was sort of like a love rival of, I can't think of his name, Jonathan Goffin or Coffin or something like that. Something like that. If anybody knows, please let me know in the comments. But it was a good show. I enjoyed it. I don't remember much about it, but it was fun seeing Lea Michele before her Glee fame. Of course, I didn't know who she was then, so I didn't make that connection until after fame, and I realized, I had seen her on Broadway. I saw Surf the Musical in Las Vegas. I saw it at the Aladdin Hotel, which is, of course, now Planet Hollywood, and it's based upon the Beach Boys songs. Of course, the songs are great, so you can't go wrong there, but the story itself was just so lame and stupid. It never made it to Broadway. And for good reason, because the story was just stupid. And when you've got great songs like that, it deserves a good story to go with it, and it just didn't have it. And I remember that the backdrop was this great big video screen in high definition, and everything that took place on that screen looked fabulous. Then I saw Sweeney Todd on Broadway with Patti Lupone and Michael Cervasis or something like that. And this was a sort of a modernized version where there's no orchestra, and the cast members play the instruments, and Patti Lupone played the tuba. And Michael, who played Sweeney Todd, he's another spitter. So again, every time he would sing, he would spit as well, and you could see those projectiles just flying out from his mouth. And that's what I remember more than anything else, is all those projectiles when he would sing and spit. But I really enjoyed the musical of Sweeney Todd, and the story is very good too. I also saw Taboo, of course, on Broadway with Boy George and Raul Esparza, is that how you say his name? Esparza was in this. Boy George had a very small part, and the new music, he wrote a lot of very catchy songs for Culture Club, but the new songs for this weren't catchy at all, and there weren't very many Culture Club songs, so I'm not surprised that it didn't have legs on Broadway and closed relatively quickly, because it just wasn't a very good show. Then I saw The Fantastics. It was off Broadway and it was about to close and it had been running forever and ever and ever. So I decided to see it before it closed because I'd never seen it before and I knew it had some good songs in there, like Try to Remember, That Kind of September, and Soon It's Gonna Rain, and I Can See It, and a few others. And I guess the lead, I can't remember his name, he's a blonde kid, but he made it to the fourth round, the final four in on American Idol the year that Carrie Underwood won. So he was in this, and of course, Fantastics is a terrific story, great song, so you can't go wrong there. I saw The Glass Menagerie with, oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank on her name, Jessica Lange. I've always loved The Glass Menagerie. I remember seeing it on television with Katharine Hepburn in the early 70s and absolutely fell in love with the story. So I was very excited to see this. Oh, and I think the guy who always has reminded me, voice-wise and looks-wise, a little bit of a young Jack Nicholson. Christian Slater was also in this as well. And I thoroughly enjoyed it because I just liked the story of The Glass Menagerie. Then I saw The Lion King at the Mandalay Bay Theater in Las Vegas. And I thoroughly enjoyed this. I especially liked the look of the set. I thought it was very attractive, and that's what I remember more than anything about this, is how the set looked and the colors and everything. I just really enjoyed this. I saw The Odd Couple with not Neil Simon, but with Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane. And of course, I remember the movie with Jack Nicholson and Walter Matthau, which I always enjoyed, and the TV series in the 70s with Tony Randall and Jack Klugman. But I have to say that I did not enjoy The Odd Couple because the story, they stayed true to the material, and the story is so dated now that the jokes just aren't funny anymore. And Nathan Lane was fine as Oscar Madison, but I didn't care for Matthew Broderick as Felix Unger. It just didn't work for me. So I was disappointed in this. And I always wanted to see them in the producers, never got around to seeing the two of them, which I regret. Then I did see the producers at the Berkshire Community College. They put on a production, and it was very, very good. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Those kids put on a good show. They were all very good, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Then I saw the property known as Garland. It was off Broadway. It might have been in the same theater where I saw The Fantastics. I'm not sure. And Adrienne Barbeau played Judy Garland. And I recently watched the movie Judy with Renee Zellweger, which I enjoyed it. She did a good job portraying Judy. She portrayed Judy during the concerts in London. And this takes place, I think, after the London concerts, if I'm not mistaken. Judy went and did a series of concerts in like Sweden or one of those countries like that. And this takes place backstage before one of those concerts. I think that's what it was about, and I enjoyed this a lot. Then I saw The Three Penny Opera with Alan Cummings and Cyndi Lauper, and I especially wanted to see it because I'm a big Cyndi Lauper fan, so I wanted to see another chance to see Cyndi, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. This is the one that has the song Mac the Knife in it. I remember enjoying the story and the music. Then I saw Wicked. I didn't get to see Wicked with the originators, but I still enjoyed the show anyways. It's got a nice story and some good music to it. So I enjoyed seeing it even though it didn't have the originals. I've always been a fan of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. I loved the movie, and I read the play, and I loved the movie so much I taped it as a kid when it was on television. I would listen to the dialogue all the time. It's got absolutely fantastic dialogue. It's so quotable. And Kathleen Turner starred in this, and I can't remember who else was in it. but I really enjoyed this. Elizabeth Taylor and Sandy Dennis won Oscars for their portrayals, and then I think Richard Burton and George Segal were nominated but didn't win. But this is very entertaining, and it still holds up. It still holds up about this quarreling married couple. I saw West Side Story. I don't think anybody of note was in this, but it's a good story, good music, so I thoroughly enjoyed seeing this on Broadway. And then, last but not least, I saw Young Frankenstein, and I was really looking forward to this. But I have to say, I was sort of disappointed. For one thing, I didn't like the woman who played the Terry Garr character. She played it as a stereotypical blonde with a high pitched voice, and every time she was on the stage, it was like fingernails on a chalkboard. And I also didn't care for the guy who played Frankenstein, the Gene Wilder part. He didn't do it for me either. But but it wasn't bad. I wasn't sorry that I saw it, and of course I was looking forward to the song where at the Ritz with Frankenstein and the Gene Wilder character doing that song and dance. So I enjoyed that, and they played that part, like in the movie. So that was very enjoyable. So that's my playbills. Oh, hush up, butter. And thanks for watching.